Man, the player, and I'm back. Hope you're doing good. Okay, so today I want us to ask ourselves a very important question. Is DLS26 FTG's last shot? FTG's last chance. Now, hold on. Before you guys get into the comment saying a bunch of stuff, just just listen to what I have to say, okay? For us to understand this, I've listed 3 points, and then I want to start at number one. Okay, so number one is I've entitled it the legacy. Now let's start things way back in DLS 2014. 2014, that was the time we had FIFA, we had PES, that's PES, but then it got a little bit stale. Yes, it got a little bit stale. All the game, just football, just common football games, but things got a little stale, and that's when DLS was introduced. Now, DLS being a football game wasn't just a normal football game. They introduced a feature that a lot of people found it very, very amusing. That is the fact that you can create your own player, develop the player, and use the player in the game. Now this was well received by people, and then rightfully so, because think about it. You're creating your own players. So much fun, so it's understandable why a lot of people embraced it. It was so accepted. Then we got DLS 2015, DLS 2016, and then if you played through those years, you realize that a lot didn't really change. Yes, not a lot really changed. It was just focus on creating your own player, and then most we didn't want to say anything because honestly it was fun. Create your own player, get to play with them, make them appear however you want them to look, and then just fun. It was alright, and then things started to get boring again. Come on, yes, creating your player is fun, but it gets to a point where you've done everything there is to do in the game. Is there more to offer? And then FTG said, so we want to offer you more by giving you less. How do we do that? We take away the ability to create your own player. Now, I'm just thinking, was this a really smart decision by FTG? Taking away something that made your game very, very popular? And then the answer is no. But let's just give them time. Let us just understand what they want to do. And then fast forward, we get into DLS 2020. Now I know, online, was around during DLS 2019, but then 2020 is when, things, got really into online, people started playing and stuff. So that's the whole story about the legacy of DLS. Now let's get into point 2, and I've entitled it the competition. Now, we got into DLS 20. Now there's when PES was becoming eFootball. Now, let me try to explain something to you. Before eFootball, alright, we had FC. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful in any way, but at that time, FC was better than DLS. It's just fact. We have to accept it. Yes, FC was better than DLS, but then DLS was, sort of in the competition because you could create your own player. Now with this feature being gone, I don't know. I mean, the FTG. I mean, I don't think they really knew what they were doing, because they removed the special players. I mean, the legends, the icons. They removed all of them from the game, and just I think limited themselves, because we didn't have Bundesliga. I mean, as a matter of fact, we still don't have Bundesliga. We don't have Saudi Pro League. We don't have MLS. So you question yourself, is it a really good decision to remove the create your own player feature? Of course not. That was getting the game, so over, and they removed it. Now, back to the competition. Now, now, this is when 2020, that's when FTG really started to try and compete with the competition, right? FC and eFootball, you really saw FTG really wanted to compete with those two, companies, if I should say, maybe games. And are they failing? Of course not, don't get me wrong, but let me tell you the truth. Currently, among those three games, FC, eFootball, and DLS is number 3. We all have to accept it. I know some of you are super DLS fans, but we just have to accept it. And now, let me explain why DLS is number 3. Now, I want you to take a look at DLS21. Take a look at DLS22. Take a look at DLS23, DLS24, and currently DLS25. And now, if you've done that, I just want to tell you that all those 5 games are just one, but then different color themes, and then a bunch of features are thrown into the successive ones. And this is just fact. FTG trying to compete with the competition just forgot what they wanted DLS to be, and that's just fact, right? Because look, DLS was supposed to be an alternative for players that have played FC and PES for a long time. They've gotten bored. They want something new. That's why they came to play DLS. But FTG have totally forgotten that fact. They are so focused on competing with the competition that they've lost it. Yes, and do you want me to prove it? I'm going to prove it for you. Look at this. Now, DLS21, DLS22, as I said, all the way up to 25, they're all the same games. But what makes them the same game, you might ask? Just look at the gameplay. There's very little improvement in the gameplay between DLS21 and currently DLS25, and it's just fact. How they try to get away with this sneaky tactic by FTG is just throwing new features into the game, and they are thinking it'll just make the game better, but that is absolutely not the case. Let me show you something. I think in eFootball, I play football. I think you've seen my videos, on eFootball. eFootball has, a particular, what they do. They introduce new players in the game, give them sneaky little, touches, and then the game becomes really, really fun. And DLS have misunderstood this fact. First, in the DLS25, they introduced the, Dream Stars, well received, and then the Champions. Honestly, the Champions was really, really good. I really loved how they presented it. Just that you have to spend a lot on the game before you get them. But then, let's be honest, it was well executed. You don't have to grind like the prize ladder, how you do for the classic players. These champions, in a way, are better. if you know you want to if you really want to get them, then that means you would have to spend something in the game. But I mean, is it really that bad? No. But now you see what's happening. It's just another feature. Nothing has been made to improve the game itself. They're just adding on features, different players in the game, thinking that it will make the game better. But no, it doesn't get it over. You see, the problem with features is that once you introduce it, yes, it's going to be talked about for 3, maximum of 5 days, and it's done, dead. Nobody remembers it because everybody is concentrated about the game, and that is to say the gameplay. If I get the 88 Messi and he comes into the game, he plays trash like a common player with the same moves and stuff, I feel cheated. I feel wasting my gems, my money on something that I shouldn't have, and that is the problem. That is the problem. They are too focused on doing what the competition does. If football has epic cards, let's just introduce champions. FC has team of the year, let's introduce dream stars. And this, it gets to a point where it becomes so repetitive, the games just starts to get boring. If I wanted this, I would have just hanged on to eFootball, play eFootball, while DLS24, when DLS 14 came on. That's what I would have done. But I came here thinking you would give me something better, and you've done nothing. You've just given me a copy and paste of what I hated in the past. You've rebranded and given me now in the future, and then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to say it, but that won't cut it. I love DLS. I want it to become better, but FCG are failing us. Yes, that's the fact. Okay. Now point number 3. I've entitled it The Last Chance. Now, I understand this. Just I want you to pay attention to this. If you are someone who are in, Division 1 and Division 2, I want you to compare the process of the matchmaking. Just compare it to, let's say, Division 7 or so. You would realize that when it's, when you are trying to find a match and then, it gets to the searching for a match in Division 1, it takes a longer time, a bit, than if you're in tier 6 and then tier 7, thereabout. That should tell you something. And then you can't blame the players. Let me tell you something. I'm in tier 1. I've become champion of tier 1. Let's say I've become another champion for the second time. Why do you think I should still play this game? I have done everything there is to do in this game so fast. I'm not going to spend another year. Maybe me, for instance, I spent like 4 years before I could get champion. I'm sorry, that's a little bit embarrassing, but that's just fun. I'm not going to spend another 4 years doing the whole stuff again. It's boring. It's completely boring. DLS are losing a lot of players, and quite frankly, they are losing them to eFootball, and that's just fine. eFootball is better than DLS. Let's just accept it. I'm not happy to accept it, but it's the truth, and I have to. It's time he gets. I'm not trying to say when DLS go and play football. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that if FTG drop the ball with DLS 2026, I'm sorry, but that's done. So those of you who play live matches, get ready to search for a match for an awful long period of time before you get an opponent. And DLS 25, honestly, of all the DLS, that is my best